So in 1958 in Beirut, you have street politics that were going to just run right into the Cold War, and then U.S. Marines then wade ashore to kind of steady a shaken government. This is We Didn't Start the Fire. I'm Matt Haskell. I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm taking you line by line, lyric by lyric through the song. And right now we've just finished the bridge on the River Kwai, and we move on to Lebanon. And when Billy Joel sings Lebanon, he's pointing to the 1958 Lebanon crisis, and it's one of the first big tests of the Eisenhower Doctrine in the Middle East. If we start with a setup here, President Camille Chamoun faced rising opposition over politics at home and then also the way they were aligned abroad. Many Muslims and some Christians opposed his push to extend power and resented Lebanon's kind of tilt towards the West, just as Gamal Abdel Nasser's pan-Arab nationalism had surged after the Suez crisis in 1956, and then led to the creation of the United Arab Republic in 1958. That was kind of a joining of Egypt and Syria. Now, we have protests and we have clashes that break out in the spring, and the country felt kind of split between competing visions of Lebanon's identity and also its alliances. And then the crisis widens, because on July 14th of 1958, a revolution topples the monarchy in neighboring Iraq. Now, Washington feared kind of a domino effect, Arab nationalism momentum plus Soviet leverage. So Dwight Eisenhower invokes his doctrine and orders Operation Blue Bat, which is where we send U.S. Marines to Beirut to stabilize the situation at the request of the Lebanese government. So on July 15th, Marines land on the beaches just south of the capital. They secure the port, the airport, and some key routes with Army units following up. This was not a war of set-piece battles, though. It was a show of force that created space for kind of a political deal. U.S. envoy Robert Murphy was shuttled back and forth among the factions while the troops kept order without trying to run the country. The compromise arrives relatively fast. Parliament chose Army leader Fuad Shahab as president in August of 1958. He was a figure that was seen as legitimate by both sides. And with a new government seated and street tensions eased, U.S. forces withdrew by the fall. For Eisenhower, it was proof that limited intervention could prevent a larger collapse. For Beirut, it was a brush with superpower politics that still kind of echoes today. So why is it in the song? Well, because Lebanon captures kind of a turning point, the moment that the United States stepped visibly into Middle Eastern crises to try and manage outcomes between Arab nationalism, local rivalries, and also the Cold War. When we tie it back to the song, in this one word, Billy Joel compresses, unrest, Marines on the beach, and also a negotiated exit, which was a snapshot of how the 1950s Cold War played out far from Washington and Moscow. And the reason why it matters is, Lebanon in 1958 shows how signals and restraint can matter more than firepower, and how outside powers can shape local politics even when they promise to leave. It's a template for later interventions, land the troops, stabilize the government, broker a deal, and move on. If you enjoyed this particular episode of We Didn't Start the Fire, please share a like, a follow, a share, a comment, anything. I'm going to keep moving on through the song because next after Lebanon is Charles de Gaulle. Thanks for watching.